Hello YouTube, this is KainEnable, and I will be streaming the final 40, well hopefully less than 45 days, because I have 45 days left until 80 days. This is the game called 80 Days. Oh, hold on. I keep doing this. There we go. I'm streaming my own thing just to make sure it works. I'm back in again. So the idea behind this game is that you're supposed to circumnavigate the globe in 80 days. In my previous stream, which is part one, which you can watch in my channel, we made it from Paris, and I believe we are somewhere in the Middle East, I want to say. Maybe not. I can't really remember exactly where we are. But we have a lot of distance to cover. So this game is sort of like a choose your own adventure game where you circumnavigate the globe. You can go there through either a car or a train or some of these sort of fantastical inventions or machines. You can see on the screen now there's an airship, so there's airships. I don't want to give too much away because we may run into something exciting. So without further ado, let's continue. All right, so let's plan our day. Right, we are in Bombay. Oh, sorry, Madras. Okay. So ideally what we want to do is we want to make our way to Singapore, and I'm thinking to Manila, and maybe to Honolulu. I think that would be the most expeditious way to go. So, okay. Now where exactly are we again? Let's go into our city. Yeah, we're in Bombay. I think we bought everything. So let's go to Madras. Departs tomorrow at 1 p.m. Fantastic. Here we go. Let's have a little sleepy sleep.
We'll pass the night here.
Mr. Fogg. Before turning in for the night, I polished our shoes and hat pins. You know what? Let's go stretch our legs. I went to stretch my legs, enjoying the sights and smells of this curious part of the world. Oh, that's it. Je dois départ maintenant. Embark. We will take a train. Sounds good. Oh, I can only have 3 suitcases. Oh, that's alright though. I can fit everything into 3 suitcases. And let's embark. The Madras Mail. The Bombay Express was a fine train, luxurious and opulent. Inside each softly lit compartment, Persian rugs and Venetian lamps threw color over the fittings of teakwood and burnished brass. Most acceptable. If only all our journeys were so well appointed. Well, we are quite fancy. Greetings, Monsieur Compton. May I help you? Have you locked yourself out of your compartment? Madras. The Sisters of Didacus in Madras were quite fixated about the automata shards. So if I don't... Oh, Singapore. Bangalore, Colombo. Actually, let's see what we have on us. See if there's anything that we can drop off anywhere nearby. We have a pearl. Ooh, that goes in Madras. Perfect. That's where we're going. Right? Singapore. Okay, so we got some goodies for Singapore, Madras. If we go to Yokohama and Hong Kong, I don't think we're gonna make it there. But these items that have more than one city associated with it, they're actually worth less because they're worth more. So these ones, for example, the natural pearl, this is worth a lot because there's only one city that you can make it to, that you can pick up the reward for. So let's close. Goodbye. So here we go. Zoom out. Perfect. Madras. Awesome. So we're looking pretty good. I went to explore. The observation decks. Set with wicker chairs and parasols to better and more comfortably observe the countryside flashing past. And it was there that I met Anne Marie Spencer, a girl of maybe 10 years. sketching the distant hills. I greeted her politely. As I took spot beside her, she smiled and with deft movements adjusted the position of her wheeled chair to give me more room, dropping one of her pencils as she moved. I returned it with a bow. She giggled. "You must be French," she declared. "You are gallant indeed." I smiled politely and looked aside. "I knew it," he said. "I have a good eye. I see things as they are. That is why I draw." I looked over her pictures, to be confronted by their strangeness. I could not recognize anything of the landscape she was so closely watching in the lines and shapes that filled the page. "You have a most unusual style," I hedged. "Oh, monsieur," she said, "I have a good eye. I can see that you're lying." And I shrugged and did not attempt to deny it. "Oh, what? No!" Oh my god, I'm being such a jerk to a 10-year-old. "Your pictures are terrible, mademoiselle," I told her. "They offend my eye, my sense of proportion and space. Uh, they are unspeakable." She nodded. "Most honorable," she replied. "I knew it." Just then my attention was distracted as my master beckoned me over to make me ready for evening wear. I bid her farewell, and she nodded to me. "I will see you again, Monsieur Passepartout," she told me as I left her. I did not stop to wonder that day how it was she knew my name. Oh man, I didn't mean to be a jerk to her. Alright, well let's... Oh, that's not good. Bangalore. Next morning I discovered I had lost my passport. I told Monsieur Fogg immediately, risking his displeasure at the possibility of delay. But in truth, he was amused.
Should I lose mine, Passepartout? He replied. I would be most vexed.
Let's see, I went up to the observation. Well, you know what? Might as well see if she can help. I decided to enlist the help of Anne-Marie and her excellent eye, so I tracked her down the observation deck and explained the situation. She looked most concerned. "What might happen with you, or what might happen to you without my documents?" "At worst, I will not be allowed to travel," I replied. "And it would be most serious, as my master is on a journey around the world." She nodded. "Well then, we'll have to look, won't we? I think you should search the crew cabins with my chair, that my chair can't access, and I will look around here." That seemed like a good plan, so I agreed. As I was heading from the car, I felt certain the girl would locate my papers. As her sharp eye and with her sharp eye and inquisitive mind, I went to search the crew cabins immediately. My breaking and entering was rumbled in moments, of course, by a cabin boy only 7 or 8 years. I tried to run away. Let's run away. Oh no, 8-year-old boy! Ah! But collided, oh good, with the guard himself. The guard, a surly fellow with a mysterious mustache. He was in the habit of waving around, sat me down and demanded the facts, which I provided. Ooh, interesting. I visited the observation deck. Very wise. The views there are most astounding. Go on. He waved me to continue. "I had it yesterday." "Naturally, you boarded the train." He chewed his mustache in thought. "I was talking to the girl in a wheelchair." At that he sat bolt upright. "Anne-Marie Spencer! Then our mystery is solved. Come with me." Together we marched to the observation deck, where we found the young mademoiselle idling away at her sketching. "Young lady," the guard demanded, "stand up." I watched horrified as the young crippled Anne-Marie got up from her wheelchair, then curtsied in front of me. "I'm afraid I'm a dreadful kleptomaniac," she apologized, with a deep sincerity, "and an unparalleled liar to boot." "And the chair?" Young Miss Spencer and I have an arrangement, the guard said. She promised to stay in the chair and out of mischief, and I agreed not to lock her in her compartment for the trip to Madras. My passport, please, I demanded with no small irritation. I dropped it, she replied with an indifferent shrug. Somewhere. Tell me where, I insisted firmly. Then Anne Marie sat back down again, suddenly glum. You've stopped being charming, she said morosely. Here's your passport. She reached into the fold of her dress and pulled out my papers, and the guard wheeled her away as I wiped my brow with relief. A long and most difficult delay has been avoided. Awesome. What is your wish, master?
All is well with you, I trust.
Well, fine, I'll talk about your wool trousers.
Monsieur, I will crease your trousers for you. Excellent, my man, that would be most pleasing.
Okay, I see. Let's have him shave. It builds up his health when I do this. May I shave you, monsieur?
Shave away and make it close.
Shall we smoke? Some tobacco, monsieur.
I miss my pipe. I miss my pipe, Passepartout.
Very good. All right. What a sneaky, sneaky girl. I did not see the girl all day today. I think it was she was being kept within her quarters under some kind of observation. No doubt medical in nature, suitable to her flagrant criminality. I occupied my time playing craps with the train guard, who proved a masterful bore. I won a small sum without any difficulty, seeing as the dice were loaded, pocketing £130 along with my opponent's railway cap. My funds have gone up.
Our complicated railman's man uniform should help us negotiate times of train journeys.
Ooh, awesome. At Madras, they pushed the young girl from the train down the ramp, and she waved up at me before turning to face the road ahead. Under the weight of our cases, I could not wave back until she was gone.
Who was that girl?
A dreadful liability, I replied. Monsieur Fogg seemed displeased with my answer. I suppose it was not very gallant. Still, I spoke nothing about the truth. Well, what can you do? I mean, really, I got ripped off by a 10-year-old girl. It's nothing I'm gonna really brag about.
Some of our possessions could earn us well here.
I know. Alright, we're gonna sell this pearl. Oh, look at that. £18,000. Let's see, can we make it to... Okay, China tea set. Wow. Calcutta and Chittagong. I don't think we're actually going there. Tobacco. Brazilian snuff. China tea set. How much does that cost? £100. Well, let's zoom out a little bit, see what our route is. See if it's going to take us where we need to go. So, plan is Colombo. Yeah, I don't think we'll be passing there. We're going to Singapore. Oh! You know what? Maybe we can make it to Hong Kong. Alright. I don't think we actually need any more money, though. Yeah, we're not going to go to Calcutta. Manila? Oh, we might stop by Manila. And get some tobacco, because why not? Brazilian snuff. Alright, that should be good.
We'll need another case as well.
Alright, let's spend the day. I don't really want to go to Colombo. So let's go explore. Hopefully this will give us a sea route. Ah, excellent. No. Chittagong, Calcutta. Madras was a city within a city. Inside the walls and fortifications of Fort St. George was Whitetown, where British memsahibs and factors traded and went to church and traveled from place to place on mechanical palanquins. I found the colonial officers to be particularly dim and hard-headed. I would have blamed it on the humidity, but the locals seemed to manage their wits without any trouble. I ventured into Blacktown, where I attracted a few glances but no real attention. I doubt there were many reasons for a lone foreigner to wander the cramped streets and back alleys, but after a few minutes I realized I was being stalked. I turned to face my shadow to find myself face to face with a nun. "Would you like a blessing, good sir?" An ornate gold cross hung heavily from her neck. Why not? Her smile spouted razors. With no further warning, she brought her heavy gold cross on my head with a crack. My vision spluttered and sparked into blackness. Oh, that's not good. When I awoke, I was in a nunnery. My nun assistant. Hopefully. Sorry about that. Lost the connection for a little bit, but we should have it back now. My order does not believe, as the Pope does, that the automatons are abominations. We believe these machines, too, are capable of grace. Yeah, but why did you smash me in the head? You know what? This theology, all this theology while my head still spin. I briefly went cross-eyed and fell over. The sister propped me back up. "Please listen to me. The Didachean sisters are dedicated to research for a machine which has a soul, and we now require your help for a search." No, no. What the hell? No, you can't. That's not how you convince people. You could have simply asked. "The Lord does not ask, he expects. Now listen to me." She helped me woozily to my feet. "If you find an automaton whose shard is engraved with the soul in your travelers, send a telegram to us. We will have our own receiving station, and we will reward you materially, if that's your wish. But we must have such a shard." "As you say, sister," I agreed, wishing to make good my escape. "I'll inform you at once." "I have faith," the nun said calmly. Then she let me go. I did not know what to make of Sister Whatever and her order of artificer nuns then, and I do not know now. I admit I was glad to know we would be leaving Madras, and its walls and fortifications and secrets. All right. I wish we could just go to Singapore. I don't feel like this is a waste of time. What's our Calcutta? Oh, actually, you know what? I mean, if we're going to Calcutta, might as well make some money. Because I believe there was a China set here. Oh, no. Alright, let's sleep until the morning.
We'll pass the night here.
Ah, I gotta get going. No. Alright, we need to get going. Okay, the market. So you can see here there's a clock, and it every second a minute passes, so we need to wait 10 seconds until the market opens, then we can buy the China and hopefully get out of here. Alright, market. China tea set. Alright, that was Calcutta, right? Yes, okay. Let's go. Go, 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 go. Arrives Monday. Alright. Go. Western Flower. It was not until the Western Flower left the shore of India that I was truly relaxed and convinced the sisters of Didacus were not going to bang me over the head once again. Here in the open water I began to consider their strange mission and my part in it. Another victim of the Madras head smasher found dead. Ooh. Yeah, well, someone should really call the cops on them. The water was calm and crystal clear beneath our prow. I took a turn about the ship. You know what? I'm going to avoid the sun. Alright.
I feel well cared for.
You calculate for everything. Alright. I'm not going to read that because we're trying to go to Calcutta. Converse. Greetings, Monsieur Chatterley. Greetings, I'm the ship's navigator. Calcutta. I'm very interested in Calcutta. Alright, Rangoon. Ooh, Dvarka. Hong Kong. Ah. Goodbye. That's it. That's where we want to go. Okay, then Singapore. Singapore to Hong Kong. Excellent. Yeah, we need to really get going. We made good time to the coast of India, enjoying the rolling of the waves and the glorious thick scents from the kitchen. It seemed like the traditional on board. It seemed traditional on board to host a banquet for lunch on the final day. We enjoyed ourselves thoroughly, and all but rolled down the gangplank into Calcutta. Western flower. All right, let's. I don't want to dally here. Calcutta. So we made a bit of money there. Singapore, Manila. Let's see, what else do we got? Peppermint tablet. Parad. Okay, yeah, let's get that. Cowboy boots. American. I have interest. Alright, I don't want to mess around here. Let's go. Now we got lots of money. I don't know if we really need to make any more. So I'm going to zoom out here. Basically just say, hey, let's go to leaving tomorrow by 9. Okay, perfect. So yeah, we are going to stay the night.
We'll pass the night here.
Calcutta was an industrial city which was built on the wealth of opium, textiles, and indigo. But it was not to say it was not uncultured. It was not to say it was uncultured. The chai stops which I passed by were all thronged with affluent Babis and Benjenis discussing poetry and literature, the sticky subject of Indian independence. There seemed to be discontent brewing in several places, and I wondered if we were able to avoid all consequences of it. Do you think we will be in trouble soon? I asked. Several voices agreed, but several disagreed. There was no clear answer here. Only time would tell. I quickly returned to Mr. Fogg. Monsieur Fogg. All right, let's depart, and let's get to Hong Kong ASAP. Hire extra space. Go. All right. So we're going from here to Chittagong to Singapore. Yeah, we're going to want to stop in Singapore. And then from Hong Kong, yes, we can go to Honolulu. Okay. The SS Thunder of the Apcar shipping line had 10 years previously set the record for the fastest journey between Singapore and Hong Kong, and her captain promised us a journey 10 days rather than the usual figure of 12. Oh, that's pretty cool. Greetings, my dear madame. Tell me of Paris, passport to Hong Kong. I'm very interested in Hong Kong. Let's find out about... because we're going to Singapore. Magnetic compass. But now, does the Seine ever flood? Maybe? No. It's a very civilized river. Singapore. Port Moresby. Ooh, Colombo, Bavaria. Let's find out about Port Moresby. Very unlikely. Brisbane. Okay, goodbye. Wow, that is a fast ship. Awesome. I have a feeling we're going to... I turned around on deck, interested in who else I might find aboard. There were a few other passengers on the ship, and that a handful were nervy Indian laborers bound for Malaysia, Malaya or Singapore. The ship was crewed by Lascars, a mix of Indians, Singaporeans, Chinese, and Malay, who spoke entirely incomprehensible sailors' dialect, which I found utterly fascinating. I endeavored to pick up as many words of the odd patois as I could on our voyage. Early on our first day, we stopped at the port of Chittagong to take on more passengers. Then the captain blew the whistle loud and long. Full speed, he declared. You'll see. Awesome. Phileas Fogg attempts a round the world adventure. Ah, look at that. We're making great time. We dined at the captain's table. He made a toast and asked Monsieur Fogg outright whether he was the opium trader and I was his factotum. I looked to my master, who merely said he was not. Captain Ong guffawed and commanded our glasses to be filled once more. It is a profitable business, he advised. A man can make his fortune in opium if, and he addressed the last to my master, he is not squeamish. Morals are not squeamishness, I replied coldly. The opium trade prospects are from the weakness of men. Yes, Captain Ong agreed. Some people are weak, yet some overcome their weakness. I believe in freedom. The people of China are not children. We do not need to mind them like an over-anxious parent. Monsieur Fogg gave me a quelling look before turning to the captain.
Your business is your own, Captain Ong, as long as you conduct me to Hong Kong in 10 days as agreed.
The captain raised the glass. Fear not, Mr. Fogg. I have anxious customers awaiting my cargo, after all. Hold on a second. I will be back in 1 second. Uh, do, do, do. Sorry about that. I had something quickly to attend to. Yeah, the nun was a jerk, wasn't she? Okay. Where am I? Quelling look before the captain. Fear not, Mr. Fogg. I have anxious customers waiting. Fogg. All right, good. All right, this is good. All right. I woke thinking of croissants. Not just any croissants, my friends, but the croissants made on the corner of the street where I grew up, delicately crisp on the outside, yielding within. I could smell them, almost feel the texture of the pastry on my tongue. I was so lost in contemplation that I was very nearly late to attend my master's shave. Zut alors! Yeah, because, that's important. Shall we converse? Greetings, Captain. Well now, Passepartout, Hong Kong. It's easy to lose oneself in opium dens of Hong Kong. Alright, well, you know what? I'm not going to read through these. Huh. How do you deal with nose hair? I braid it. You wax it and braid it carefully. What strange fashions you Europeans have. Sure, because, that's what we all do with nose hair. Goodbye. Hong Kong. SS Thunder. The Lascars who made up the crew seemed to find me an object of great curiosity. I find them curious in return. My attempts were to learn a few words of their cobbled-together tongue, where met with howls of good-natured laughter. A young Malay, Shiley, asked me what Paris was like.
It's beautiful.
Oh no, that's wrong voice. It's beautiful, I said. The scene glitters like a snake. The theaters spill light and color onto the streets. The cafes are filled with men and women debating and drinking endless cups of coffee. There are beautiful women and beggars all on the same street. She looked at me curiously. I took a deep breath, dissatisfied with my answer. Never mind my thoughts. Perhaps you will see it for yourself one day. She nodded, accepting my answer. I doubted she would ever set foot in the city of my birth. Well, I mean, I'm not trying to sell passports. Yeez. Alright, so we're in Singapore. Great. Today we stopped at Singapore, on the southernmost tip of Malay Peninsula. Singapore had been British for many decades, and from the harbor it seemed almost as if the little town in Kent or Surrey had been stripped piece by piece and reconstructed on this far shore. We exchanged some laborers for a dozen or so merchants and set sail by early afternoon. Oh, wasn't there some stuff I wanted to sell in Singapore? Oh well, I still got lots. I still got more than enough money. Converse. I am at. Oh no, wrong voice. I am at your service, Monsieur Fogg.
Why, my dear Passepartout?
How are we for money?
We are well funded indeed. You have made some excellent decisions.
What do you know about Hong Kong?
You might be interested that the SS Thunder from the Calcutta connects in Hong Kong with the air journey to Yokohama.
Interesting. Manila. Have you discovered anything in the Times concerning Manila?
Manila is the capital of the Spanish-English Indies.
Very good. I'm going to grab a little sippy sip. The captain was on deck in the afternoon as I took a turn. He seemed to hesitate for a moment before he approached and abruptly said, My brother is an opium addict. I am sorry. He laughed without any true good humor, the merriness entirely gone from his dark eyes. My family is from Shanghai. We were poor, but instead of relieving my parents' cares, my brother became an opium eater who lied and stole and wasted his days. How old were you? He seemed surprised at my question. I was 10 when he began. He shook his head. I left Shanghai at 15. I ended up in Singapore with nothing to my name but a shirt. And look where I am now. My parents live well on the money I send them. And your brother? A look of fleeting sadness crossed his face before it hardened over. I do not know. Dead, probably, if not begging on the streets. He took a shaky breath. I have not talked about this for many years. But I wanted to tell you this, monsieur. Things are not so simple as you seem to think. Captain Ong bowed stiffly. My thoughts flickered between the captain's story and the chests of opium even now in the cargo hold. Relations with Fogg have strengthened. Alright, let's just double check and see what we have. So Singapore. We could have sold that. We could have sold that. Oh no. Alright. We had to we hit a squall today and were confined to our cabins. I could hear the sailors shout from each other outside the ship, as it pitched from side to side. Monsieur Fogg, in an uncharacteristic display of humility, was noisily sick into a bucket. I mopped his brow, with an act he clearly deemed overfamiliar, even with the compromised position. What? Oh, fine. Next time, I'm not going to help you. You can just friggin' puke and, clean up your own mess.
Shave, superb. I vomited everywhere, and I am angry for you for helping me. I am a very strange old man.
What a jerk. One of the Indian laborers was lying limp on the corridor outside our cabin. Hello? I asked doubtfully. He moaned. He looked feverish, clammy, and rather warm to the touch. I called one of the crew. to attend to him and watched when he was shouldered away to his cabin. The steward, a wizened Indian of indeterminate weather-beaten years, clapped me on the shoulder as thanks, and his disjointed tongue promised to care for him. Or at least so I assumed. Well, that is a question.
I could not hope for a better gentleman.
Well, then just be more grateful, you jerk. The ill laborer was walking in slow circles around the deck when I came up. He looked over as I walked past. Well, might as well greet him. He gave me a glare. It was I was to take up my job in Apcar warehouse in Hong Kong, but now they think I will not be able to work well. I have no job because of you. He turned away and fled the deck unceremoniously. Was that the guy who was passed out? Well, you know what? Don't pass out. We reached our destination as promised in 10 days. Quite a miracle, and one that Captain Ong clearly proud of. He shook our hands with great gusto as we disembarked, our eyes dancing. Good luck, he called, as I looked around the crowded, colorful harbor of Hong Kong. We missed a stop at Singapore, but I mean, we really need to get going because I believe we can sell some of the tobacco. Do we have more than one tobacco? South of Africa. Oh, I didn't actually buy it. Alright, turmeric. Oh, great. Okay, yeah, look at that. Singapore 1000. We're looking really awesome. Oh, Singapore. Yeah, that was Singapore. Shoot. Alright, well, I mean, I'm not going to go back there. What else do we have? Beijing, Yokohama, and Bavaria. I mean, I don't think we're going to go. Cowboy boots, American wardrobe. Well, we're going to be heading to America, so why not grab some American wardrobe? I mean, do we see us going to Bavaria? Let's look at our... See, ideally, I would like to go to Japan, to Honolulu. I don't really want to go to Beijing. So let's spend the day exploring. Explore. Okay. Okay, Yokohama. Okay, we'll go to Yokohama. I was looking over a bolt of red Chinese silk when a man accosted me. A man had a mustache so fine, so luxurious, so well tended, that I briefly lost the power of speech. I watched mesmerized, as it quavered with his every word of intonation. It seemed his name was Fix. He offered me a drink, and given that I had a few hours to spare, I could no. Well, you know what? I don't really trust random. Well, he does have a fine mustache. I could not, in good conscience, refuse. I mean, he has a wonderful mustache. He led me into a dingy basement where a sour-faced Chinese woman presided over several tables, a few couches with men and women, most Europeans, in various states of lulling intoxication. Lol. It's an opium den. You frequent such a place? I asked, attempting to reconfigure my image of Monsieur Fix. The gin is good, he told me, and ordered us a bottle to prove his claim. It was thin and sharp, but not wholly distasteful. We chatted amiably for a time, though I noted he kept my glass full, and not his own. Listen, he said abruptly. I am a police detective, sent from a London office. You, a detective? I could not hide my incredulity. But he presented me with his commission, which seemed in all respects to be genuine and correct. You have been duped, he resumed. Monsieur Fogg's rager was a pretext. Last September, a robbery of £55,000 was committed at the Bank of England by a person whose description answers exactly to that Mr. Phileas Fogg. You know what? I'm just going to agree with him just to get out of here. Is he what? £55,000, do you say? I slurred, feeling the effects of a bottle of gin. Surely that cannot be. You have scarcely anything, you know scarcely anything of your master, Fix grounded on. You went into his service the day he departed on this so-called wager, carrying little but a large quantity of banknotes. He is an honest man, I asserted mechanically, though through the face of Fix's absolute certainty I found myself assailed with prickles of doubt. The detective hissed a breath which flooded his lips of his oiled mustache. I could arrest you as his accomplice. I have done nothing wrong, I protested. Then you must help me, he required. Fix pressed a pipe into my hand, and unthinkingly I lifted it into my mouth. No, do not inhale. All right, fine. I guess we're smoking opium now. My fingers shook. My fingers shivered. Suddenly I recognized these bleary thoughts for what they are. Opium-induced meanderings. This is an opium pipe, I accused, standing up so abruptly that my chair toppled over. I ran, without a glance backwards, not wanting to give Fix a chance for further trickery. Who knew what this man was capable of? I ran through the streets of Hong Kong until I reached Monsieur Fogg. Despite the gin sloshing its way through my body, I felt sober as a judge and twice as grim. Well, that was exciting. All right, let's head to Yokohama. Let's go to Yokohama. Ooh, buy air, negotiate. The air set should yield results. All right. So we'll make it there by tomorrow. I think we're looking pretty good.
Now we shall have a wonderful night's sleep. We'll pass the night here.
I was loath to leave Monsieur Fogg for any length of time, having so narrowly escaped the clutches of that blackguard Fix. We explored the city for the comfort of the mechanical sedan chair, but my terrible experience dimmed the colors and tarnished the beauty of the streets. I found myself anxious to leave. Yeah, well, when someone tries to, have you smoke opium, force you to smoke opium, that would turn you off to a city, I would assume. The Jade Tiger was an old Moduge class Parisian ship, renovated with Chinese colors and fittings. They were painted all over with Manchu luck symbols. Swastikas, stylized bats, and coins. That's right, because a swastika used to be a good luck symbol. FYI, we climbed aboard, ready for the journey east. It's interesting how symbols can be repurposed and their meaning completely changed. I think there's some older temples actually that have swastikas carved into them. Again, this was before the Second World War, so interesting factoid. What is your wish, master?
Passepartout, you have my undivided attention.
How will we cross the Pacific, monsieur?
There are many options, but which one we will choose will decide our route across the Americas.
Do we have enough cash reserve?
We are wonderfully funded indeed. You have made some excellent decisions.
Very good. Alright. Captain Hu wore a traditional Manchu pow in blue cotton, bone hairpins, and her fan-shaped hair, and a jade thumb ring. I bowed low in courtly greeting. She looked at me quizzically, and then asked a series of questions in Chinese. I did not know enough of the language to identify the particular variant. An English speaking crew member was summoned. Her tool belt hung with rope, bolt cutters, and climbing equipment. The captain says she is expecting you to speak Cantonese, she translated, because you were in Hong Kong. I was only briefly in Hong Kong, I sighed. I did not have enough time to practice my languages. The crew member rattled her bolt cutters at me. The captain speaks in Cantonese, Mandarin, and 3 dialects of Manchu, Russian, and Arabic. Are any of them known to you? I am afraid not. The captain, for all her delicacy, arranged hair and grace, looked thoroughly exasperated, and stalked off in a huff. A crew member chuckled and struck her hand out at me. Song Ying, looks like I'll be looking after you and your master for this trip. Madame Song, I ventured. Soon, Yu Qing shuddered. Song Yu Qing's fine. Try not to mangle it much, eh, Passepartout? Her pronunciation was, of course, flawless. Meld. And I thought I was cultured. Let me shave you, sir.
Ah, close shave, superb.
Monsieur Fogg took exception to the moth-eaten red drapings which adorned our cabin, and asked me to take them down for the duration of our voyage. Is it the color that distresses you? I asked. Does it matter? He replied with perfect equanimity. I suppose it does not in the end, I replied, attempting to consider the matter from my master's ever-logical perspective. Song Zhuqian looked terribly surprised when she came in to fetch us for dinner at the bare-walled room. My master is a plain fellow, I explained. How nice for him. He must have the luxury of taste. How nice for him to have the luxury of taste, was her only remark. But I felt it sting keenly. What a jerk. This guy's a jerk. Alright. Here we go, Yokohama. We dined in the captain's quarters, accompanied by Song Zhuqian. A Siberian tiger skin rug sprawled across the floor. A note of sybaritic indulgence in an otherwise plainly decorated room. The captain shot it herself, Song Zhuqian remarked, miming an arrow shot. She loves archery almost as much as she loves the jade tiger. Where did she learn it? Therein lies the tale, the crew member smiled with relish. The captain's father was far too old and weak to join the army, so Captain Tu put on clothing of a boy and rode out to take its place. How daring of her! It was a grave risk, but she served 12 years and gained much honor. When she was discovered, the generals gifted her with an airship and forgave the deception. How marvelous. I looked at the captain with admiration in my eyes, and she narrowed her gaze at me. And then Song Zhuqian, who paled. Oh dear, she muttered. I think the captain's irritated that I'm telling tales. She is very modest, as befits a great hero, I said. Yes, that's it, Song Zhuqian mumbled, and fell silent for the rest of the meal. A most stimulating dinner at the captain's table, all told. Oh no. Alright, we tethered in Yokohama in the early afternoon. My eye passed lightly over the slope-roofed buildings, carriages, and bare cherry trees. I made a particular effort to thank Song Zhuqian for an entertaining journey, for she made an excellent, if fanciful, translator, and taught me a little Mandarin after hours below decks. Think nothing of it, she advised, shaking my hand in her calloused one. Good luck. Ready, Passepartout? My master sighed. Of course, monsieur, I replied eagerly, and followed him into the Japanese soil. I would love to go to Yokohama. I'd love to go to Japan. All right, let's see what we can get. An amethyst. Burlington. All right, well, maybe when we go to the U.S. Burlington. Well, there's one in Canada. Alright, so far, goods that we have for sale. Oh, did we not sell that? Did we stop in Manila? You know what? We're not going to go there. Might as well sell it back. Let's keep all of our goods that we sell in one suitcase. Wherever we can. So we have an amethyst. this here. Put the wallet back here. Oh. Okay, so we only have an amethyst. Okay. Well, we're not going to go back to Hong Kong. So let's go and explore. Hopefully this will take us across the ocean. Oh! We can go to Manila. No, that wouldn't make much sense. Ah! Aha! Our journey across the ocean. Ooh! It will take us directly to... Is that somewhere in British Columbia? It's hard to believe that Yokohama had only relatively recently opened for foreigners. There was an entire foreigners district not far from a waterfront, where it was common to hear Chinese or Russian or Japanese. There was a melding of cultures and clothing styles. Russians arrayed in rich colors, hoop-skirted British ladies lately of Bengal or Singapore, Americans who adopted their coat-like haori over their heads and trousers. I noticed Japanese man watching the scene with a look of intense concentration and scribbling in a notebook. I leaned over for a look. He was drawing a stylized picture of foreign quarters with quick pen strokes, which stopped abruptly as my shadow fell over the drawing. He looked up, irritated. "Do you mind?" he said, in an accent unholy mix of Dutch, French, and English. You know what? I'm going to make him Scottish. "I'm making a drawing of a woodcut." Why does that I can't speak. Why does that American appear drunk? I wondered aloud, and he covered his drawing jealously. "It was an artistic impression of the foreigners," he stressed. "Well, it's certainly artistic," I allowed. The scene on the page was much more lively than the merchants haggling and their wives and children riding from carriages. "You are a very strange people," he pronounced after a brief silence. "Everyone is strange," I replied thoughtfully, thinking of my travels. He shrugged, clearly unconvinced. He colored one of the woman's skirts lovingly, his hand on the page much gentler and kindler than his voice had been. Suddenly he thrust the paper in my direction, assuring me that it was only a preliminary sketch. I accepted gracefully, charmed that he had chosen to bestow a gift upon a near stranger. I stored it carefully. It was a fine souvenir of Yokohama. All right. Let's go to San Francisco. The water lily. Negotiate. Oof. All right. Sure. 3 days. That's a lot of money. Okay. Let's hotel.
We'll pass the night here.
With a few hours in the evening. Shall I go out and visit the city, or should I stay? Actually, hold on 1 second. I will be back in... All right, there we go. I am back. Okay, so what should we do? Shall we go visit the town? Or shall we go and leave? Oh, there we go. Let's see. All right. All right. You know what? Let's stretch our legs. With the last few hours of the evening, I went to stretch my legs and found a somewhat frenetic Japanese clerk who was searching for a dog, which I found near a dog kennel. The clerk thanked me, and we talked and remarked that you could obtain revolvers in San Pedro, extremely valuable in New Orleans. All right. I asked him how he knew, and he launched into a long, complicated story about his uncle-in-law, about his mother's uncle's sister-in-law, a convoluted tale, and one better forgotten. All right. Perfect. Let's go to... No, we don't want to go to there. in 2 days. Negotiate. Let's do it tomorrow. Yeah, we're spending a lot of money, but it's worth it. Don't have a lot of time. And as we all know, time is money. As night fell. Shoes in the lobby. You know what? Let's see if we can just make a little extra money polishing shoes. Alright. So actually, you know what? I want to take a look in the hotel. Or in the market to make sure I'm not missing anything. Okay. No. Monkey wrench. Why not? Alright, but we should get going before the boat misses. Alright. Embark. Hire extra space. Go. The water lily. Alright, we're crossing the ocean. Exciting. The water lily was a sleek iron-hulled ship to submarine prototype, captained by a severe American by the name of Wicker, and crewed by a mix of American, Chinese, Japanese, who all spoke kind of a salty, curse-studded sailor's English. In addition to the usual complement, the Water Lily carried an entire corps of brass-goggled engineers and a brace of submariners on standby, should the captain call the order to submerge. Ah, so it's a ship and a submarine. It's a schmubmarine. The rumor was it had been a slave ship and had only been refitted for passenger transport in a few years since Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation. But I saw no trace of the dark past aboard, and the crew seemed happy, like a happy family. Welcome us onto their into their iron-hulled bosom. Greetings, Captain. Passepartout, what do you want? San Francisco. San Francisco was a Spanish town not so long ago. Las Vegas. I think you'll be disappointed. Salt Lake City. I believe so. I knew a man who once took the Transcontinental Express from San Francisco to Salt Lake City. Goodbye. Oh, excellent. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Ooh, yeah, so if we can land. And yeah, we're going through Burlington. Perfect. Can pick up a little extra money. Our cabin, while hardly spacious, was adequate to our needs. And one midshipman came in to show us how to use pressure seals in the case of submersion. But in other aspects, I look forward to a peaceful steamship ocean crossing. I was not to be so lucky. Uh-oh. Something's going to happen. Let's wait and see. I remember that. Exploding soup. The salty air blew cool and sharp against my face as I opened the door to the top deck. It was painfully early, and only the passengers awake were the group of Chinese laborers hunched miserably near the stern. One of their number was vomiting copiously into a bucket. I offered him my own secret remedy, which I had brewed up for such an occasion. He swallowed it with a certain dubious desperation, but immediately improved both complexion and temperament. He thanked me. Xixi, I said, using one of the few Mandarin expressions I had picked up on my travels. They laughed uproariously at my pronunciation, but seemed altogether pleased with my attempts to render thanks in their tongue. Hey, I'm trying. I'm trying. And yeah, for all the words I'm trying to pronounce, and if anyone listening actually speaks, or is from that area, I apologize profusely for my mangling of what I'm sure I'm horribly mispronouncing. I accompanied Monsieur Fogg into a game which the family of American missionaries were traveling back to San Francisco for a family wedding. My master began strongly, but Mademoiselle Loretta, the eldest girl, had a sharp eye and won several hands in a row. A new round was dealt, and I noticed Mademoiselle Loretta slip a card up her sleeve. I blinked twice in pure astonishment and glanced up at her face, which was utterly calm, betrayed nothing of the action between her nimble fingers. The minister's daughter was a cheat, and a skilled one at that. I filed away the knowledge for an appropriate moment, catching her eye to convey that I had noticed her little sleight of hand. She blushed with all the manufactured prettiness of an accomplished actress, then raised an eyebrow in silent challenge. Our journey continued on. Day 60, Monsieur Fogg murmured that night into his sleep,
and we are not even halfway.
Aren't we? I thought we were. That's why we can't dilly-dally. I spent a day in the company of the water lily submariners, and they were all hardly men and women who preferred the dim, enclosed spaces of the hold to the top deck. Too much sky, one of them said, squinting suspiciously. Her crewmate nodded. All that fresh air. They shuddered collectively and suggested a bracing race to the boil room. Shall we have a race? I offered an alternative, having no great desire to sprint through the ill-lit, echoing ship's corridors. Their commander, a short Japanese-American woman, gave me a look of scorn. What do you suggest? A test of acrobatic skill? Though the submariners were fit as horses, they never attempted to, for instance, form a pyramid or walk the length of the corridor on their hand. They competed with me gamely, but admitted themselves outclassed. Commander Dennis even applauded. It's Izumi to my friends, she said, clapping me heavily on the shoulder as I took my leave. You are not so bad. I was climbing the rigging. As exercise, of course, and not at all for the purposes of spying on the crew to appease my own rapacious curiosity, when I heard the crewmen arguing in a pidgin mix of English and Japanese. I closed my eyes and listened. I heard only a few words were audible over the howling of the wind. Shrine, heathen, worship, before a sudden scream rent the air. One of the sailors was falling from the platform's edge. I was unable to look away. As he fell, his body lay and crumpled on the deck, but I heard a scream in my head for days after. He looked up and managed to catch sight of the fallen sailor's companion, his face still and pallid. Was that guilt in his eyes, or merely shock? He slipped away before the captain arrived, and I followed him, and retired to the crew quarters. I began to hear the sound of desperate muttered prayers. Yeah, I don't have much time. Gotta go, gotta go, gotta go. The Water Lily's crew held a funeral for the dead sailor, and I was not specifically invited, but was curious about the incident. The funeral was an excellent opportunity to learn more about the crew. Captain Wicker led a Christian service with customary grimness. I was surprised by the absence of the sailor's companion, who had been arguing with him just before his fall. Yet he was the only one missing from the funeral. Oddly, only half the crew was there to pay their respects. I suppose death at sea was commonplace. My character is zestful. Super zesty. Zesty and delicious. Storm too exhausted to write a proper entry. Suffice to say, we were still afloat. As we settled down for the night, I was struck by an unrelated thought. Monsieur Fogg, the date time.
I have altered our watch already.
I struck. That's right, yeah, we're crossing the international date line.
Did you think I might forget?
My master was, of course, correct. With an eye such as his, it was unthinkable to think that he would miss such a detail. We reached the point directly opposite Greenwich. Imagine what might have transpired if we had forgotten. Where the hours we had lost in traveling around the Earth were added back. A whole extra day. All right. Yesterday's storm hit us with little warning. One moment I was adding to a ribbon trim, why not, to one of my shirt sleeves. The next I was being tossed from end to end from the cabin to the other. We were only lucky that the bed was securely nailed to the floor. Rain clattered against the iron hull, nearly drowning the shouts of the crew. The storm lasted nearly 6 hours and blew us off course. Well, are you kidding me? It's a submarine. Go under the water. All right. The captain announced a change in destination. The Water Lily would now make for nearby Hawaii rather than San Francisco. We would not make port in Honolulu for 5 days and would have to find our further conveyance from there. Monsieur's lips pressed ever so slightly together, a rare outward sign entirely understandable annoyance.
This, my master said, will never do.
Indeed not, sir, I agreed, not even daring to calculate the delay expense and our unexpected diversion would cause. Monsieur Fogg gave me a cool, appraising glance.
Captain Wicker has reneged upon his word as a gentleman, he said curtly before lowering his voice to almost furtive undertone. The course is clear. We must mutiny.
We must mutiny. All right. I opened my mouth to, yeah, let's go ahead and mutiny. Agree wholeheartedly. But he continued without as much of a pause.
See to it, Passepartout. Use your
natural charm, initiative, funds. You know what? I'm going to use my... What should we use? Charm. Quite charming. Quite, he said, with the agreeableness of a gentleman who just given his valet a near Herculean task.
We will mutiny in 5 days when we reach Honolulu. Make your preparations as you see fit.
All right, so apparently we're going to mutiny. That'll be fun. My task was clear. It was to foment mutiny aboard the Water Lily. I decided to begin exploiting the crew's animosity towards one another, divide and conquer. So dear Maman always counseled. I considered inflaming. Gossip and rumor were a good way to start, I thought. Such subtleties might be lost on a crew of sailors. Let's see. Steal, desecrate, spread rumors. Let's gossip about the captain. Gossip about the captain, planning to forcibly convert the Shinto crew when we reached port. Some of the younger members seemed alarmed, but others merely laughed off the possibility. Because, I mean, we want to... I mean, if we're going to mutiny, we want as many people behind us. Police hunt for Sharp, known as the Reverend's daughter, last seen in Yokohama. I wonder where she could be. With a satisfaction, I noted a certain increase of tension aboard the Water Lily, a situation I would carefully have to exacerbate if my master's mutiny would have any chance of success. Next, I attempted to ingratiate myself with the submariners, who were rather storm-tossed and disgruntled. There are no storms underwater, the commander muttered, her hair in a tangle. Yeah, we should have submerged, I agreed. Captain Wicca risked all of our lives. I think perhaps he does not trust your ability as submariners. The commander's face was darkened by my assertion. Perhaps you're right, she said. Perhaps so. I have heard him say as much, I added, hoping to press my advantage. The captain's eye narrowed suspiciously. Is that so? Why would he say such a thing? I nodded and winked. You do not know everything about me, I replied. The commander stared back unflinchingly, keeping her thoughts to herself. I took my leave a moment later, hoping my seeds of doubt would spread. This is exciting. So, mutiny. I had attempted to suborn the obvious targets aboard the Water Lily, but wars were often won by the unexpected. With that in mind, I turned my attention to the valets and batmen, to the ship's officers. Being a gentleman's gentleman myself, I knew the value of a good servant. Conversely, I was also aware of the disruption a bad one could cause. I appealed to them with my considerable charisma and style, making an impassioned, prettily worded speech. I dare say I managed to sham a few crystalline tears at exactly the right moment. It was almost laughably easy to draw them to my cause. The captain and his officers were not, it to be said, popular amongst their servants. Nice. All right. This is pretty good. I spent the day putting the last finishing touches on my planned mutiny. which it was a matter as delicate and serious as the creation of souffle by a master chef. Then I retired, nothing more to be done. Spread the word amongst my allies. Well, let's just see if I don't do anything. Either the crew would rise with me, or most likely would be hanging from the yardarm by the next sunset. Oh, we reached Honolulu in the dark. The captain took a small skiff into the harbor with one of his officers, wishing to inquire about the repairs putting the Water Lily to dry dock. Monsieur Fogg watched the boat for a long moment.
Now is the time, he said crisply. I trust everything is in order.
I assured him it was, and he nodded, having expected no other response.
Let us hope so.
With that, my master retreated to his cabin. I signaled the call to arms. The Water Lily erupted into chaos. Everywhere was the clash of sabers and pistols. Now and then I heard the shriek of an officer's sonic weapons. But I was not alone. Half the crew had followed the Shinto creed and fell in behind me, with the desire to teach the Christian crewmates a lesson rather than mutiny. But their anger helped stoke the fires of rebellion. The loyal officers found themselves inexplicably delayed and thwarted in their efforts to dress and arm and meet the mutiny. The valets and batsmen had thrown their loyalty behind my uprising. It brought us precious time to establish our control over the ships. The Chinese laborer rewarded my friendship with steadfast loyalty, showing themselves into mutiny, along with the desperation of men and women who utterly loathed sea travel and longed to revenge themselves upon the instrument of torment in any fashion. They lit the fires and tore up the already ragged sails, causing some unwelcome chaos. The submariners, led by Commander Davis, charged out to hold the ship like a horde of impossibly athletic, avenging angels. There was a long, terrible moment when I wondered if their allegiance. Then the Commander Davis caught my eye and winked. It's Izumi to my friends, she shouted cheerfully, driving back any struggles loyal to Captain Wicker. I saw Mademoiselle Loretta tip one of the loyal officers out of the corner of my eye. She tipped her bonnet in my direction, a gesture of respect from one player of the game to another. The whirl of batter took me away, but not before I saw her falsifies a magnificent feint and block the gangway to the navigation room. By noon, I was clear how the day would end. The mutineers raised a cheer of victory, and myself had ended up with a debonair scratch upon the cheek, and somehow to be in possession of a brace of pistols and 3 sabers. By that time, the captain and officers had returned. We complete control of the ship, and they were quickly trussed up and returned to their skiff. Excellent. Returned the skiff to Honolulu. Monsieur Fogg emerged, surveying the scene of recent battle with a calm eye. Well done, he said, a classic gentlemanly understatement. Still well done. Still, it was well done, and more, if I do say so myself. Haha, so we successfully mutinied. Alright, we're back on course. Ooh, and do not have that many days. You don't think I'm gonna make it? I don't know. We'll have to see. Hopefully we're gonna zoom pretty quickly. Alright, what is this? To my amazement, the successful mutineers held a vote and elected me the new captain of the Water Lily. I was delighted. Can you imagine, my friends, your humble passepartout, captain of his very own ship? Rest assured, mes amis, it was a great part of ceremonial title, which made no particular demands of my seamanship. Monsieur Fogg, although pleased by my success of our munitions endeavor, seemed to regard my elevation in rank with some wariness. I am, he admitted, as we prepared for bed, somewhat put in a mind of Bonaparte. Parbleu! Other than this succession, otherwise the succession passed smoothly. I acquired the Wicker's top hat and mark of the office. Ooh, yeah, we're running out of time. The first mate, cheerful girl by the name of Wang, came with an intriguing notion. As you know, the Water Lily is a ship to submarine prototype, she said. The submariners cooperated. We can convert to a submersible and make port to San Francisco in 2 days rather than 5. Yeah, let's do that. Let's speed stuff up. I called Inazumi, who greeted me with a flourish and a bow. My dear captain, she declared, not bothering to hide her amusement. Do you have orders for me? Can you get us to San Francisco in 4 days? Ooh, 4 days, jeez. Izumi's eyes sparkled. Captain, I've been waiting for that order my whole life. I will make preparations. We will submerge tomorrow at dawn. Ooh, yeah, I'm not sure if we're gonna make it. Izumi was a woman of her word. At dawn, the water lily began its preparations to submerge. I cannot record the technical particulars of the enterprise, but my own experiences were thus. The ship began to groan and scream, and the iron hull shifted to cover the top deck. The sails furrowed and mast collapsed. The screw propeller engines transformed themselves. Bells and alarms whistled as the bulkheads were closed and sealed. Within the hour, the Water Lily had transmuted from a surface skimming steamer into a water-type submarine. Izumi tossed me a fearless grin as she called for us to descend. My ears popped, and we plunged ever deeper into the Pacific Ocean, and a curious sounding silence descended upon the vessel. Oof. Wow. Yeah. I think we might be screwed. I had little to do with the pace, the preternaturally quiet corridors of the submarine. Izumi and her crew were firm and unable to control. I resolved to enjoy myself. We surfaced. A few miles from San Francisco, apparently a submarine emerging without warning in a harbor could cause all sorts of misunderstandings and complications. Uh, Izumi recommended that we row onto the port, to the port on a skiff. I formally renounced my captaincy to Izumi, and she was clearly the most capable sailor aboard the Water Lily. She blushed in pleasure. She seemed unaccountably delighted. Good fortune, Passepartout, she said as we rowed away. You will always have a home aboard the Water Lily. I turned toward San Francisco, shrouded in pale pre-dawn light. We have gained 3 days, my master said. I trust it will be enough. Probably not. Jeez, okay. Whew, we need to make it to New York. Negotiate. So tomorrow, good. See, I'm not even going to bother going to the market. We're just going to... You know what? I'm just going to pass the time. The hotel was too expensive. The night was cruel and hard. Yeah, well, that's too bad because we gotta go. Alright, so that'll take us how many days? Mr. Fogg, unfortunately, not feeling lucky. Having eaten some. Had eaten some rather speculative oysters this afternoon when away from my watchful eye. I avoided him as much as possible, not wanting to inflame his distress.
You are most diverting, Passepartout.
Oh boy. Let's see. The first day was enjoyable enough. American trains could clearly not compete with their European counterparts, but it was amusing to see them try. The posters proclaimed Pullman's Palace sleeping cars. And while not palatial, they were, in the slightest, they were at least serviceable. We sipped our cool beer and rattled through the long stretch of desert in the shadow of the tall mountains. I attended to Monsieur Fogg. Yeah, darn it. Our fellow passengers were a curious mix of gold and silver prospectors, homesteaders, farmers from all corners of the world. A young black woman in deep red bonnet with an infectious laugh and a wide smile. Her name was Dana. I'm meeting my husband in Cayenne, she said to me. He did construction work in New York, but New York isn't safe anymore. We have enough money to move now. Why isn't it safe? Why isn't it safe? I queried innocently, having only the broad strokes of American news and history. Did you not hear about the draft riots in Europe? She asked wonderingly. New York has always had Confederate sympathies, and when the Union began drafting New Yorkers, they rioted. They killed and burned black homes. My husband never felt safe, but now we're moving to Cayenne. She smiled, nearly glowing with happiness. I told her, "Oh, where can one go? Where can one go but New York?" I asked, thinking about our journey ahead. New Orleans, she said. You can take the paddle boat down the Mississippi from Burlington, she laughed. Through New Orleans, through New Orleans is dangerous in its own way. We talked a little more, and then in the afternoon, and the afternoon wore into evening as we passed Ogden, close to Lake City. We watched as passengers disembarked, glimpsing fertile fields and well-tended ranches out at the windows of the train. Yeah, we do not want to go there. Mysterious French pirate seizes control. Haha. Yeah, I think we might be out of luck here. Today, a fellow painfully trimmed mustache with an impeccable suit approached me outside the lavatory. I made way to let him pass by. I am Felix Granger, he said. You are a puzzle. I was utterly flummoxed. A puzzle, I repeated in consternation. Monsieur, I am a simple man whose past is an open book. Oh no, do not tell me how you come to be here on the transcontinental. Thereby hangs a tale. I can tell, good sir. He was merely interested in me and my adventures, and I saw no reason not to enlighten him on the great and florid detail. His eyebrows were raised higher and higher during my recitation. Then he asked surely, this is your first time in America? Well, I declined to give him a definitive answer, wanting to project an impression of worldliness. He seemed to regard me with uncomfortable speculation for a moment, but the expression was quickly covered with bland friendliness as he took his leave. Oh, yeah, we're definitely not going to make it. Shoot. Tall woman, blah, 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 blah. Pistol tucked. We watched. Watch now. Wiser luncheon had asked. One of the woman homesteaders who informed me that she was Esther Hobart's Morris, a justice of the peace, and indeed the first one in America. She sniffed. Honestly, some woman. What's wrong with being a wife and a mother, I ask you? A trim mustached fellow boarded the train again before the last whistle blew. His face was down and anxious. Yeah, that sucks. We were held up by outlaws. They dragged tree trunks over the line and forced the train to a halt before boarding, brandishing pistols and sabers. They went from carriage to carriage, demanding valuables. I looked at my master, who had a certain glint in his eye, and I did not doubt that he wished to resist these outlaws' demands. Being a man with deepest respect for the law, the lead bandit fired his gun in the air. The name, he declared, is Jesse James. Now give me everything you got. The saber lifted to my throat. I handed over my wallet. What else could I do? At least I did not keep all of our money in the same purse. Monsieur James smiled a toothy smile and tossed me 10 pounds back in return. The saber point moved on, and it was at Monsieur Fogg's neck. What about you? Are you good for it? I stayed silent, allowing my master to handle the threat however he saw fit. Monsieur Fogg cleared his throat. I would trouble you to lower your sword, he said. I listened, fearful. You'd trouble me, would you? Jesse James said. Somehow, I doubt you would. Monsieur Fogg stiffened a little. His eyes narrowed. I could see he was about to do something terribly rash. I watched carefully. Monsieur Fogg was standing stiff as a post, sword point directly at his Adam's apple.
I have boxed for my country,
He declared. Oh, I covered my eyes. I could not watch. Just at that moment, a group of soldiers, headed by a trim mustached fellow, stormed aboard our carriage, pistols drawn. Jesse James lifted his sword and held up his hands. You will not take us hostage. I jeered him. I watched curiously as he was led away by the agents. Then the steam engine restarted. We were soon on our way. Not much worse for wear, although our valuables were impounded as evidence. Oh. We did not have time to wait for our case to come to trial, but the officers compensated us a little, to the tune of £1,000. A kind fellow passenger gave me a spare pair of shoes, and a few hours later we reached Burlington. Our funds have gone down substantially. Awesome. Day 80. Oh, darn it. Shoot, shoot, shoot. I think we've lost. That's a bummer. All right. I don't want to go to. I want to go to New York. Oh man, our journey is taking a long time. Well, you know what? Let's go. Let's finish this off.
We'll pass the night here.
The night ended. I made sure to repack and iron everything.
Today is day 81. We have failed.
Do not lose heart.
Indeed not, he agreed. We must return home, and fast as possible.
I don't want to go to New Orleans. I want to go to Washington. But okay. Bummer. We boarded the Dark Queen, a twin-decked six-boiler steam wheeler bound for New Orleans. The Mississippi was famed for the luxury of her steamboats, but also for their unfortunate tendency towards catastrophic boiler explosion. I felt lucky, though, and quite certain nothing ill would befall us on our journey to Crescent City. We were certainly due for a good turn, were we not? Greetings, Mademoiselle Greenwood. Honestly, I don't know what I'm doing aboard this thing. New Orleans. Oh, really, monsieur? Acapulco. Go to Havana. We could go to Port Royal. Oh, actually, here, let's. Port Royal. Goodbye. Yeah, I feel like we're kind of veering off course a little bit. I mean, I want to go around the globe and not in circles. Oh dear. Oh dear. The rooms of the Dark Queen were full of gamblers, enticing passengers into games of dice and cards. The river ports had been passing more and more regulation, and the cheats and crooks had all fled to the unregulated waters of the Mississippi. A fool and his money were soon parted. Oh. Captain Latour was quite cozy with one of the gamblers and had something of an attitude himself. I'll wager I can get us to New Orleans in 3 days rather than 4, he shouted to the room at large. Who will take the wager? That would be a risky process, pushing the Dark Queen's engines to be brisk. I stayed silent. Fellow magnificent red-beard, sharply pointed lapels stalked 100 pounds against the captain, and whooped with delight. Watch and learn, my friends. You'll see a record made today. Captain Latour ordered a calliope to play a tune as he mustered the crew and gave them order to push the engines to their maximum limit. The coal shovers scowled at the extra work involved, but the captain ignored them magnanimously. The Dark Queen's crew seemed competent enough, but their boilers whistled and screamed, and the ship began to make ominous keening sound. I sensed disaster and tried to convince the captain to renege. To little avail. I kept the feeling like the entire. I had a terrible feeling about the entire enterprise. Keep shoveling, Captain Latour shouted, tapping dials and muttering orders. He squeezed more oil into the engine crank. We'll be in New York by sundown, which was then something began to make a screaming noise. I turned about, looking astern, seeing smoke issuing from the crank and metal, and then it was too late. The rear boiler exploded. The entire ship seemed to shudder and convulse as the sailors screamed and wept and burned. What? It was hell in the literal rather than metaphysical sense, and I was in it. We didn't reach New Orleans that day. I'm wondering if we ever would. Greetings, Captain. Passepartout, you slimy dog. Yeah, well, you wanted to not go. Fine. What I really do. Do you play the trombone? I do, absolutely. Who doesn't play the trombone? I'm thinking about starting a jazz band. New Orleans, Machu Picchu, Dallas. Goodbye. Wow, it's now 84. We are so far behind. Even the harness, there was respectful silence. For ordered 2 or 5 remaining boilers filed, a double pay for Stokos to induce them. How could this happen? I asked Monsieur Fogg in a plaintive tone. My master regarded me thoughtfully.
Captain Latour took a gamble, and this time he lost. That is all.
But you are a gambling man. Oh, whoops, wrong voice. I said, thinking of the screams of the sailors. I realized as much on the first day you took me into your service. What is the difference?
There is none,
Captain Fogg said calmly after a moment's consideration.
I merely have better calculation of the odds.
My character is zestful. Delicious. We docked at New Orleans when the sun was low, glinting over the backlash water of river bathing the French and Spanish colonial village of the soft yellow light. Captain Latour came to see us off. I think our wager has taught me caution, he said shakily. Be wary of New Orleans. She's a city a man can abandon himself in. Oh, hold on a second. I have to answer that. Alright, we are back.
Looks like we can complete our physical restorative set here for the protection against strenuous conditions.
Alright. Well, we might as well go to the market and see what is offered. Let's see. Port Royal. Okay. Top hat. Well, if we can make it to Atlanta. Darjeeling tea. cold compress, wax cylinder. You know, let's try to make it to trombone. Yeah, sure. I like trombones. Let's just grab everything. All right, let's see if we can make our way to Atlanta. I mean, seeing as, you know, we've already... Ah, perfect. Excellent, excellent. And to New York. That's where we want to go. I struck up a few conversations here and there, hunting for options on how we might proceed. So let's plan on going to Atlanta tomorrow at 11. All right.
We'll spend the night here.
I met Death in a smoke-wreathed, red-lit bar in New York as the jazz band struck up another tune. He offered to buy me a bourbon. Perhaps in another 30 years, 20 or 30 years, I replied archly, as some other patron snickered. Death pulled his mask off to reveal a handsome cafe au lait features and dark green eyes, and extended his skeletal hand to me. A fine costume, he remarked. Merci, mon cher. I am Death in our neighborhood. Mardi Gras, and I'm practicing my role. He took my proffered hand and brought it to the back of his lips for a gallant kiss. He flickered me a rather unmistakable look under his dark lashes. To be so clearly desired by Death was unnerving. I found my feet shaking and stepped aside. He tilted his face to one side. Do you find my color displeasing? He asked with a lazy smile. Not that. He laughed low and pleasing. It matters little, mon cher. There are many white men in New Orleans who do so. In spite of it, I am a free man. Death resumed his mask. I do not believe in prophecy, but the chill of his cold fingers on my face sent a thrill through me. Abandoning dignity, I ran from the bar, nerves rattling like knuckle bones in a cup. All right. Let's go to Atlanta. Go. The Piedmont airline from New Orleans was not in fact an airline, but according to the advertising, the fastest railway in America. What could be better? For getting us to the edge of the Atlantic, we had failed our 80-day challenge, but this had turned into the feeling, I think, that we wanted to get home. Celebrated maniac. Phileas Fogg loses wager. Well, darn. We settled ourselves into a carriage with one occupant, an extremely large man who introduced himself as Charlie Sullivan, a lad from Birmingham, who was impressively sculpted, especially around the neck and upper arms. His mustaches were nonetheless perfect. This guy has an obsession with mustaches. I asked him where he was going. New York. I was boxing. I'm going home. You fought in a competition? There was a competition, he said. I won. Third round knockout. I gulped. However, Monsieur Fogg's interest had been increasing sharp through the conversation. You are trained? He demanded keenly. Or self-taught? I've got a manager, Sullivan replied. He tells me what to hit.
Excellent, excellent, Monsieur Fogg. I want to hear all about it.
I sat back and enjoyed the conversation. The detail of boxing is more intricate than one might expect. The business of cut and thrust delivered by Sullivan's so very English tones were quite informative. We disembarked a little later to Atlanta, and I sighed with relief, as though sharing a compartment with Monsieur Sullivan had resulted in less air to breathe for the last few hours. All right. So let's sell some stuff. Civil War had left its mark. Let's just go on with this. All right. We may not look like much today, mister, declared Stanley Goodman, owner of Goodman's and Goodman's, a curious hardware store, bakery, and bookshop, which I stopped to buy something for lunch. But in a few years, we'll be the state capital. And after that, who knows? We are, we are going around the world, I told him cheerily. By train? He demanded. I know Europeans are in love with their airships, but they won't last the ways of the rails. They won't last the ways of the rails. Will you'll see. You'll run out of hot air or whatever you're used to keep those things afloat. I attempted to. You may be right, I concurred. I've traveled by several airships, and I am, say, unconvinced. Too right, Monsieur Goodman agreed. To my mind, shall we say, they stink. Now, excuse me, I've got a shop to run. I bought a hammer and a sandwich. Sure, because those things go together. All right, I'm going to sell my stuff. That's not you? All right, I'll go to the market. Here we go. Oh, that's in New York. Wasn't there something we could sell in Atlanta? I thought there was something to sell in Atlanta. San Pedro. Oh, that sketch isn't going to get us much. This is New York. New York, Washington, cold compress. Oh, okay. Cotton flower, Winnipeg and Havana, Gideon's Bible, fake passport. Is that going to help? Ah. Nope. Alright. We're heading for New York. Embark. Oh. The great train stations in the Americas are truly sights to behold, cathedrals to the majesty of the railroads. They will stand for all time as the country grows in strength, or at least to say billboards and marketing stands the line of the walls of these colossal temples to the large-scale endeavor of of tying up a wild country with knots of steel track. I asked my master for his opinion, and it appeared momentarily disgruntled.
I fear passport too. I prefer trains to airships, but this is personal opinion and nothing more. A child could tell you there's more space in the sky than in the land.
I'm just going to wait. Fogg said to have crossed the date line. But will an extra day be enough? Oh yeah, for sure. We're going to be great. Washington. A train passed. I passed the train journey playing cards. A nervous American seamstress who turned out to be a fearsome humorist. You know what? I'll just break even. I broke even after some difficult play, during which I learned about the Haitians in Panama City have some of the fastest aircraft in the world, but these strange ships have feathers. Aha. A train pulled into New York. With a great issuing of steam, it blew up into the darkening skies. We disembarked to the faintest smell of salt air. The edge of the Atlantic awaited, surely not far from home now. Alright, so we explore. I'm assuming this is going to take us across. Yep. This is going to take us home. We're late 10 days. Well, we could go to Reykjavik. I was pickpocketed in New York. I trusted in my unstealable wallet to keep me safe. It worked charmingly, bringing the thief Cropper just as Yeah, Cropper just as they were running away. The yank of the elastic sudden and severe enough to lay them flat. I went over the crowd. I went over to crow victory. The little thief looked up from me from the sidewalk with thick lashed eyes. I realized belatedly that the thief was a young girl, barely 10. I released my grip slightly, and she took the opportunity to curse in a thick Irish accent. I held on. Despite the inconvenience, she finally grinned her teeth at me, teeth stained with my precious life's blood. How dare you, little madam? I exhorted. Ladies should not bite, she snorted. Ladies must bite. Sometimes ladies must. She looked down at my bloody arm. Truly, it was a salutary lesson not to let my guard down in strange climes. Don't steal again, I commanded sternly as she returned my possessions. She agreed she would not. Never again. Cross her heart through her expression, although her expression was shifty. I relaxed my grip, and she slithered away and lost herself in the crowd. I made my way back to our hotel before anything more untoward could befall my delicate person. All right. So we want to go to London. All right, let's negotiate. All right, we'll go tomorrow. And, oh yeah, we have some stuff to sell in New York. I mean, not that that's going to help, but... buffalo hide. Wax cylinder. Yes. Darjeeling tea. Anything else? I think that's good. Okay. Well, now we just have to sleep and head back. In failure. We made ourselves comfortable for the night. I spent a while talking to the... let's just repack and iron everything. Depart. And we're heading back to London. Oh, we can't take that much stuff with us. Well, you know what? I don't need that hammer. That should be good. Oh, wow, okay, we can't take that much stuff. We don't need galoshes. Don't need anything railway. Probably don't need the monkey wrench. Air traveler, well, we're traveling by air. Shaving kit. Alright, what do we need to get rid of? Well, I am a gentleman, so I can't get rid of my top hat. I mean, that would just be ridiculousness. Sailor's cap, don't need that. Cowboy boots, there we go. I mean, you can't get rid of the top hat. That is just blasphemy. We left New York above the Henrietta, an old Confederate airship converted to transatlantic mail carrier. We should reach London in 3 days, barring unexpected delay. Wow, so we are going to be 13 days behind. Alright, well, I think probably, looking back on it, I mean, we did meander a fair amount. I think probably the most efficient way would be go through maybe Russia and take a train, like Trans-Siberian line. The ocean tore along beneath us. I enjoyed talking to no one. Needed to know, no one to charm, flatter, or beguile, giving us aid. There was only wind and time, and we could control neither. I feel rested. Monsieur Fogg looked out the observation deck windows with perfect calm. Though the wager was lost, and he was no doubt ruined, I watched him closely, for I fear he might do something drastic. I spent the remaining time embarking on the writing of his account. Although I found Already the details of our early adventures had grown vague and indistinct, although in a YouTube video, which I could refer to at any point. We tethered the airship dock to Hyde Park and felt, for the first time in 92 days, the feel of English soil under our shoes. At long last, we had returned to London. All right, guys. So apparently, we were behind, and we didn't win this one. But let's see what happens here. I hailed one of the steam carriages idling on the banks of the serpentine Hyde Park. Should we go to the pub? You know what? Let's have a drink. My master shook his head. To Savile Row, he corrected calmly, turned his face to the window.
I have most assuredly lost my wager.
Soot and fog thickened the yellow light of the glass lamps as we drove through the streets of London. I searched for some words of comfort for my master, but found nothing but platitudes forming themselves on my tongue. I swallowed them down. We have lost our wager by an irrefutable margin, yet it could not help thinking that we so nearly succeeded. I resisted the urge to seize Monsieur Fogg's ledger to calculate a better route, to scrub out some of the mistakes and to snatch back our victory, one last day at a time. My master entered his domicile with his habitual tranquillity, though he instructed me to leave the window shut up, so that his neighbors would not mark his return. I prepared his supper, and he ate heartily, as if he were not utterly ruined. Passepartout, he said. Yes, Mr. Fogg. The silence followed. I counted up. The hair's breadth escapes. All the obstacles that we had to overcome which had delayed us.
You have performed your duties with competence and skill, Passepartout,
he said, though remarking upon the weather.
But, more importantly, you have circumnavigated the globe as my companion, despite the unfortunate protraction of our journey, he added. It was no small feat.
And what will you do now, monsieur? I asked, trying to emulate my master's coolness and aplomb.
My course, Passepartout, Monsieur Fogg interjected smoothly, is fully decided upon. We must attempt the journey around the world once more.
Once more? I cried.
Indeed, Monsieur Fogg said implacably, the intent light glinting on his cold blue eyes. But this time, forewarned and better prepared, we will succeed.
Yes, monsieur, I nodded smartly, glad to not be bothered to unpack our cases. Monsieur Fogg consulted his ledger and tapped his pen.
Perhaps this time, he thought carefully, a more direct route.
Your journey of the world is complete. Adventurer Phileas Fogg loses wager. Fogg blames nights and rough sleeping, exploding Mississippi paddle steamer, and American train robbers for 92-day journey. All right. All right, let's take a look at our journey, see where we started. So we started in London, went up to Germany. See, I think we spent a long time sort of bouncing up and down, sort of going the coastal areas. I mean, I think that's unavoidable. But I mean, if I were to do it again, I mean, I could see I've basically traversed all of Asia around here, as opposed to now I did this because I wanted to buy some things. I wanted to make some money, which you do need, but I mean, maybe that wouldn't be the best way. Probably the fastest way is to go across Russia and then out the other side and then across the ocean. I mean, our route was really not that slow. That's not too bad. We could always go through Canada. So I have a feeling I know where we're going to go next time. But this was a fun game. It's definitely worth playing again. I know more on sort of, I think, which way I'm going to take it next time. Thank you all for watching. If you liked it, give me a thumbs up. If you hated it, do a thumbs down. Subscribe if you want to see more of this. Thank you very much for watching, and have a wonderful weekend.